Well, there aren't that many chief rabbis. I'm only the sixth since 1845, so we've served on average about 30 years each. And that's a great luxury because you start young and then you have a lot of time. A lot of people said to me when I was chosen, at the age of 42, aren't you a little young for the job? And I replied, no, believe me, in this job I'll age rapidly. So, and indeed I found. So every 30 years or so, there is a year or so of search for the next chief rabbi. There's a vote, and I won. It was established because in Britain, throughout Europe actually, the Jewish community is constituted as a religious community. And that means that the community must have a head, an official spokesman, if you like, who represents the community vis-a-vis the public, vis-a-vis the other religious leaders, the royal family, the government, the prime minister. It's a kind of semi-ambassadorial, semi-diplomatic role. And obviously there is a chief rabbi of Britain for the same reason, lahavdil as it were, it's not quite the same thing, as there is an Archbishop of Canterbury in Britain. So there's a head of the Christian church, so there's a head of the Jewish community, which is constituted, as I say, as a religious rather than as an ethnic community. I wanted to turn a rather staid and quite predictable Jewish community, not very creative one, into a much more effervescent community. And I think the community really has been transformed. We do things in Anglo Jewry today that are not done anywhere else in the world or have stimulated developments elsewhere in the world. We have something called Imud, where almost 3,000 young people come together to study for a week at the end of the year, studying 600 different courses. Now, Limud has been exported to 47 other places in the world, from Moscow to New York and Los Angeles and almost everywhere else. So we have a very vibrant cultural life, which we didn't have before. I wanted to make Anglo Jewry a more religiously knowledgeable community. And in 1993, a couple of years into my chief rabbinate, when I launched my program, Jewish Continuity, 25% of Anglo-Jewish children went to Jewish day schools. Today, 17 years later, that figure is 65% and rising. That means we've built more Jewish day schools in the last 15 years than in all the previous 350 years of Anglo-Jewish history. So I'm pretty proud of that. But in particular, I wanted to take the Jewish voice and make it a voice in the human conversation. So I do a great deal of broadcasting for the BBC and other national broadcast media. I do television programs, a lot of radio. I write for the national press. 7 of my books have been serialized in the national press. And when you consider that the Jewish community in Britain is only 0.5% of the population of Britain, it means that we have an influence out of all proportion to our numbers. I'd like to see the Jewish voice much more self-confident and willing to engage with the world.